Today, we're going to talk about a skill that I think is one of the most powerful you can develop. It's what separates feeling completely overwhelmed from acting with total confidence. It's how you turn chaos into clarity. So let's dive in.
Okay, picture this. A building is on fire. You've got smoke everywhere, alarms blaring, people are panicking. It is pure sensory overload, a situation that's basically designed to short-circuit your brain.
But right in the middle of all that chaos, there's a firefighter. And she's not panicking. She's watching the way the smoke is curling towards the ceiling, listening to the specific groan the building is making. Why? Because she's seen this movie before. So what's her secret? Is she just braver than everyone else? Not really. She has more information, but more importantly, she's processed it in a very specific way. She's using pattern recognition. And that skill is the key to everything we're about to unpack. So let's break this down, this idea of panic versus power. Because it's not really about courage, It's all about how your brain deals with information, or a lack of it. I love this phrase, fear is information poverty. Think about that. That feeling of dread or panic you get when you're facing something totally new, it's not just an emotion, it's actually a data problem. Your brain is frantically scanning its internal library, looking for a file labeled how to deal with this. And when it comes up empty, yeah, that's when the fear alarm starts ringing. And this slide just lays it out so clearly. On one side, you have panic. That's what happens when a threat is totally alien, completely unrecognized. But on the other side, that's where you find power. It's that moment of calm when your brain goes, oh, wait a second, I've seen this shape of problem before. I know the playbook for this. So what exactly is this secret skill? The one our brains are using all the time, whether we notice it or not. Let's get a really simple definition on the table. At its heart, it's just this. It's seeing a new situation and realizing it kind of looks like an old one, then using what you learned the first time around to handle the new one better. I mean, you do this all the time. You're not relearning how to have a conversation from scratch every day, right? You're recognizing social patterns. The real question isn't if you use this skill, it's whether you're building it on purpose. This is such a crucial insight. Experts aren't necessarily smarter or quicker, they just have a bigger, more organized mental library. Think about a senior doctor. When they see a patient, they're not running through a million possibilities. They see a constellation of symptoms that they've seen hundreds of times before. It matches a pattern, and that allows them to act fast and with confidence. But, and this is a big but, it's not foolproof. This skill can absolutely backfire. Sometimes the world really does change, and your old maps are useless. Or maybe you see something happen once or twice and mistake it for a permanent pattern. And worst of all, sometimes a pattern, like I always mess up presentations, becomes a kind of mental prison, a story you tell yourself that stops you from even trying. Okay, so knowing all that, how do we get better at this? How do we deliberately stock the shelves of our mental library so we have more to pull from when things get tough? Let's get into the practical toolkit. All right, here are 5 things you can start doing today. First, mine your own experience. Seriously, go back and look for the recurring themes in your own life. What patterns pop up again and again? Second, study your predictions. Just make little guesses about how things will turn out and then check if you were right. It's like calibrating your internal compass. Third, learn from totally different fields. You'd be amazed how a strategy from, say, a video game could solve a problem at work. Fourth, do pre- and postmortems. Before a project, map out what could go wrong. After, analyze what actually happened. And fifth, and this one's tough, actively look for evidence that you're wrong. It's the best way to fight your own biases. And I just want to pause on this one for a second because it is so important. That space between what you thought would happen and what actually happened, that gap is pure gold. That is literally where learning lives. It's where wisdom is forged. Okay, now for what I think is the most powerful part of all this. It's one thing to spot patterns out in the world, but the real game changer is when you turn that powerful lens around on yourself. This is the meta skill, right? It's understanding that you, yourself, are a collection of patterns. You have patterns for how you react to stress, for what triggers your best work, for when you're most likely to make a bad call. We all have them, but most of us never really stop to study them like we're a scientist looking at data. I mean, just imagine knowing this about yourself. This isn't a character flaw, it's a predictable data point. If you know you always hit a wall at 3 weeks, you can prepare for it. You can build a plan to push through it instead of getting blindsided by that feeling of wanting to give up. And look at this one. This is huge. Recognizing your own internal patterns lets you literally design your life to be more successful. If you know this is true for you, well, you can just make a simple rule. No big decisions after dinner, or always tackle your hardest problem first thing in the morning. It stops being about willpower and starts being about working with your own system, not against.
So let's tie this all together. Why is this skill so ridiculously important, especially right now? What's the ultimate payoff for all this work? Well, we live in an age of just complete information overload. We have more choices, more data, and more noise coming at us than ever before. In this kind of world, pattern recognition isn't some nice-to-have skill. It's a survival mechanism. It is the only way to cut through all that noise to find the actual signal. And the goal here isn't certainty. The world's way too messy for that. The real goal is something way better. It's groundedness. It's that deep, quiet confidence that comes from having seen enough patterns to know how things generally work, from knowing yourself, and from trusting that you can figure it out even when you've never seen this exact thing before. And that brings us back to our firefighter. Look, she probably still felt fear, but her library of patterns gave her a path to move through it. The promise of mastering this skill isn't a life without fear. It's the ability to act with purpose and precision, especially when you're afraid. That's the power that we can all build for ourselves. So as you go about the rest of your day, I'll just leave you with this question. What pattern, either out in the world or inside yourself, is just waiting for you to finally see it?